And we'll get started.
Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. My name is Myrna Lord, and the Director of Client Services in the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. And I have the privilege to work with some wonderful financial aid advisor and scholarship liaison, all our front-facing folk in our office. We are here tonight to discuss the wonderful topics of financial aid, scholarship disbursement, refunding, how to pay your bill, and payment plan information. And I'm sharing this presentation with my wonderful colleague from Student Accounts, and I will let them introduce themselves to you all.
My name is Kelly Fonto. I'm the office supervisor over in Student Accounts. And yeah, I work with the French corner and helping students and families. And it's always wonderful every year to welcome them to families, help getting started with their path ahead of you. And I know the finances, there's a lot going on, but we're going to go over some cool stuff today to hope to clarify some of those areas. So yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so as we talked about at the beginning, these are our topics for our presentation today. And let's get started. Okay, so first of all, we want to kind of talk about the similarities and the differences between our two offices, because there's a lot of times we get confused. So we can imagine how it may be confusing for you all. So student accounts, student departmental account services, and the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. And how I always tend to describe it is kind of like the two sides of the same coin. So we work in partnership with for financial aid purposes. You know, students apply for financial aid. Information with regarding scholarships, grants, the federal financial aid process. We are considered, our office and the awards that we offer students is considered the method of payment for students to assist in covering their educational expenses. Whereas student and departmental account services, that's where all the action happens, right? The billings, invoices, tuition and fees, things that are charged onto a student's Louis account are coming through the office of the student accounts office. So that's where you make your payments. That's where once aid is applied, and we will get into how that all works towards charges. It's where refunds are processed and different kinds of methods of making your payment, whether that be accessing 529 accounts or the tuition payment plan, all the information tied to a student's actually getting any type of refunds. It's all coming through student accounts office. Okay, Kelly, take it away.
Okay, yeah. So it's really important to really check your account before you get started with that dispersal. So if you take a look at the account file, it has all of your to-do items and bills, and those are very
Hey,
important.
Kelly, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. It's a little hard to hear you on our end. I wasn't sure if we're able to adjust the volume at all, but it's just a little hard to hear you. Myrna, can you hear her okay? Is it a me problem or?
It's a bit muffled on my end also.
Okay.
Does that sound any better?
That does sound a little bit better. Oh, it's kind of back to sounding how it sounded before. I'm so sorry.
Let me try a different microphone. One second.
Thanks for being patient with us while we get some audio issues worked out. We will hopefully figure this out really shortly for you. Thank you again, everyone, for your patience as we work out some audio issues.
Glad that came up. Okay.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and get started again. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We're going to dive back into these slides.
Okay, yes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so as I was starting to talk about, before aid can disperse, it's really important to take a look at your to-do list items and holds. And those can all be found under the task tile in the student account. So take a look in there. You'll want to review each item carefully because they can prevent things like your aid dispersing, or other really important things like enrollment even perhaps. So look at each item, take a look at them, and be sure they're completed on time so that your aid can disperse on everything, with everything else. And those holds, if aid doesn't disperse on time, it can prevent payments on the account, which can result in things like late fees being added. And we don't want any of that getting started. So take a look in those task tiles. Some items can take a little while to complete, but the sooner you get a look at them and get started on them, the better. So yeah, let's take a look at the student account. Students can view the account charges by looking at the financial account tile. And when you click in there, the first thing that you'll see is the account summary, which is on that upper left. So financial account tile, and then next slide, please. Yeah, so from here, the account balance summary will be displayed on the upper left corner. And this is a quick summary of all the current balance that's due on the account, which includes like past due items and whatever's due within 30 days. And so, sorry, please be aware that this does not reflect the whole balance, but just what's due within 30 days, any past due amount and what's due coming up real soon here. So just be aware, it might not be the whole thing, but it's a quick snapshot of what's there. So the charges due, that link right at the bottom, right below the summary, is where it will show you two tabs. There's the summary by due date and the detail of charges due. So the summary of due date section shows you the total amount due and their due dates, and any pending financial aid is shown down below. And it's important to keep in mind that aid can be split between the fall and spring terms. So you want to pay close attention to that term that's listed there for the aid, so you can see what aid has not yet dispersed on the account. So in the other tab, the detail of charges due section is where you can see an itemization of all of those outstanding items. And this will show you the due date as well as, the whole amount due for it. And if you look on here under the charge amount line, that's the whole total of the charge, but the amount due line will show you what's still outstanding for that charge. So if those numbers are different, you could have just a partial payment on one of those items. Just something to keep in mind with what those numbers mean. So another way to see outstanding charges is by selecting the Make a Payment link on the left side of the menu. And that'll take you to the Transact Payment portal. And this will show you a detail of all those outstanding items as well. It's important to know that NAU email is the official form of communication with the university. Real-time notifications, such as when an item or charge is added to the account, when it becomes past due, when a new monthly e-bill is generated, and when a refund is issued, will be sent to the student in real time. For parents, they won't receive the real-time notifications, but they can receive the monthly e-bill notices if they're added as an authorized payer in the Transact Payment portal, which we'll go over in a little bit. So something to keep in mind with the two different ways of communication, receiving communications. But either way, check that NAU email and communicate with other departments using that NAU email. That way we know it's coming from the student and it's more secure. So for those e-bills, if you'd like to see your monthly e-bill, you can retrieve that in Transact under the Statements link. And from there, you can use the icons on the right to choose whether you'd like to view the e-bill or to save it for future use. And if you'd like more information about how to read the e-bill, a detailed walkthrough, we have that on our tutorials page on our website if you follow the QR code provided there. So leading up to fall, there are some important dates that can really help you prepare the finances. So these important dates are the July invoices, the financial aid dispersal date, and the tuition due date, and when refunding begins. So starting with July invoices, the e-bill before the major term is a little bit different than the regular monthly e-bills because it acts as an official statement for the semester. E-bills for the fall term are issued towards the end of July, and for this year, that will be this weekend on the 20th. These statements are statements that show the current charges due for the upcoming term and the estimated amount after the anticipated aid. These amounts are included to help families prepare for any remaining balance they may have after aid disperses. So the financial aid dispersal date for all terms, the earliest aid can disperse is 10 days prior to the start of classes. And this takes place the weekend before tuition due date for each term. And for this year falls on the weekend of August 17th. Students will want to make sure all to-do list items and holds are completed before this weekend so that their aid can disperse on time. So keep that date in mind, August 17th. The tuition due date for this fall, oops, sorry, if you can go back. Yeah, tuition due date for this fall is August 19th, which is the Monday before the start of the term. And this is also when the first installments of housing and meal plans are due. And all important academic deadlines and dates can be found on the registrar's website on important dates and deadlines. And so for other details like, refunds and things like that. Refunding begins on August 19th as well, which is the first business day after financial aid disperses. And so students want to make sure that all of their information for refunding is all set up in the system so that it can refund quickly to the correct information on file. And for for current important dates for payments, you can go to the link on the QR code provided for our page on important payment dates. All right, so how does aid apply to the account? Well, before we talk about how aid applies after it disperses, let's take a look at how charges are typically arranged on a term. So tuition and mandatory university fees are due in full at the beginning of the term on the tuition due date. Housing and meal plan charges are typically broken up into 3 installments due monthly, with the first installment also due on the tuition due date. So the first installment of housing, first installment of meal plan, and that tuition is all due on the same day, as well as some department charges like the transportation fee. So as long as these charges are posted to the account, you can actually start making payments towards them now. You don't have to wait till it disperses or till closer to that deadline. As long as it's on there, you can make that payment. Now, when aid disperses, it applies to the account. It pays the charges in due date order. And if everything's due on the same day, it's going to first choose tuition and then housing and meal plan charges. Now, financial aid may apply to some department charges, such as the transportation fee, if Title IV authorization has been provided. So what is Title IV authorization? Well, it's important to know that many awards are term specific and have various regulations dictating what kind of charges they can apply to. Due to these regulations, it is possible for a refund to be issued without paying all charges. You can receive a refund and still owe a balance. So we recommend that students always check their account after aid disperses to make sure all charges have been paid. Title IV refers to the specific regulations issued by the Department of Education that determine which expenses can be covered by federal awards. Title IV funds include federal Pell Grants, PLUS loans, and federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Title IV authorization allows students to grant permission for these awards to apply to some department charges, such as the transportation fee. But authorization helps allow charges to be paid before refunding, but there still may be some charges left over after the refund has been issued. So once again, it's important to double check the account and confirm that everything has been paid after they receive a refund, just to make sure everything is paid on time. And students can grant Title IV authorization through the Louis account as a to-do list item in the task tile. All right, when it comes to refunding, there are two methods of refunding for students: direct deposit and paper check. And direct deposit is the fastest, most secure way to receive a refund. The funds are received within 2 to 3 business days and deposited directly into the bank account. Paper check, on the other hand, is the default refunding option if there is no direct deposit information on file. And this is sent as a paper check through the mail and can take 7 to 10 business days to receive. Students can sign up for direct deposit in their Louis financial account tile by selecting the direct deposit link on the left menu. Be sure your pop-up blocker is turned off though. So if you select the link and nothing happens, it's likely because of the pop-up blocker. So check up at the top of the browser where the web address is, and there's usually an indication of that pop-up blocker. And if you'd like a detailed walkthrough about setting up direct deposit, you can find that on our website by following that QR code. And making payments. So when it comes to making payments for charges on the account, there are 3 main ways to pay: online, by mail, and in person. And you can also find more options that we accept by visiting our payment methods page on our website. So online payments can be made within the Transact payment portal. So students can select Make a Payment on the left menu in Transact in order to select charges to pay. You can select the box at the top to select all charges, or you can select individual items. You can also type in a lesser amount in the box next to the charge in order to make a partial payment on an item. In Transact, you can pay by e-check or credit card. So please be aware that all credit card and debit card transactions come with a 2.95% service fee. So I really recommend considering making an e-check payment, which comes with no service fee as long as the information you entered is correct. So check with your bank to make sure you have the right routing number and account number to complete an online payment. The payment methods can be saved in the system for future reference as well, so you don't have to worry about typing in the information each and every time you make a payment. Now, if others are helping the student to pay, students can add authorized payers in Transact. Authorized payers have their own login, so they can log in at any time, and you don't have to worry about sharing passwords. Authorized payers can also save their own payment methods and receive monthly e-bills. Each student can have multiple authorized payers. So to add an authorized payer, the student can start by selecting the My Account link up at the top, and in the center, select the Send a Payer invitation in the Payer section. To send a payer invitation, the student will need the payer's name and the email address they would like to use for logging in. If the student would like the payer to have access to e-bills and receive monthly e-bill notices, be sure that the Allow Access to Statements box is checked. Ooh, have a little lightning here. I don't know if you heard that thunder. But keep in mind that authorized payers in the payment portal are separate than FERPA release. you may have heard about FERPA release, but authorized payer allows access into the payment portal. FERPA release allows individuals other than the student to call or come in person to talk about the student account charges. If someone with a FERPA release were to email, please be aware that student account specific information cannot be shared to non-secured email addresses. But authorized payers and FERPA release are two separate authorizations, but both are recommended to have in place when someone is helping a student. For more information about how to grant FERPA release, visit the QR code for the registrar's website that will help set up the FERPA release. Okay, and paying by mail, you can send a personal check, a money order, a cashier's check to our office by mail. Be sure to make sure that the check is payable to NAU and includes the student's 7-digit ID number on there so that we can correctly link it to their account. And allow up to 2 weeks before the due date for that to arrive by mail, because sometimes it takes a little while to come in the mail. For the balance that's due on August 19th, you'll want to get those checks out quickly here in the next few weeks. Our mailing address and physical address are listed here, and you can also find them back on our payment methods page. So paying in person, we do accept check, money order, cashier's check, and cash. The only way to pay using a credit card or debit card is online and Transact. So payments can be made in person in our cashiering office, which is located in the Gamage, building number 1 at 601 South Knowles Drive. And our office, it's important to keep in mind that the cashiering office closes at 4:30 p.m. Our front counter and main office is still open till 5, but the cashier window does close at 4:30 every business day. So we do accept payments from college savings plans, also known as 529s. Check with your 529 company for all the specific payment options that they offer. Request your funds early to allow time for them to arrive before the financial aid dispersal date. And please keep in mind that overpayments are not accepted, so it's important to request the correct amount of funds. Include the 7-digit ID number and make the check payable to NAU just like a normal check. And you can also check with your 529 to see if they are partnered with a company called Flywire. If you'd like to try and send an electronic payment, Flywire is a faster method that only takes about 4 to 5 business days, and we can get those funds directly electronically. And some 529s are also listed in the Transact payment portal under there's a 529 payment method option that you can select. So check the list in there to see if yours is included in there as well. All right, so if you're unable to pay tuition in full by the tuition due date, fear not. Student Accounts offers a tuition payment plan to help you break up that balance. So students can self-enroll into the payment plan before the tuition due date for a low self-enroll service fee of $75. And this payment plan will break up the tuition into multiple installments that are due throughout the term, usually with the housing and meal plan installments as well. So the payment plan can be a really good alternative to maybe taking out loans if you're able to pay that monthly. And enrolling is very quick and easy under the financial account tile by selecting Enroll in Payment Plan. So the tuition payment plan is available on a semester by semester basis as needed. And if tuition is not paid in full by the tuition due date, students are eligible to be automatically enrolled into the payment plan for a deferred payment fee of $150. So if you know ahead of time that you're not going to be able to pay that tuition in full, I really strongly consider self-enrolling into the plan to lock in that lower service fee, and that way you don't have to worry about that deferred payment fee. And before a student is automatically enrolled, a reminder email is sent to their NAU student email, reminding them of that outstanding tuition and automatic enrollment eligibility. So keep checking that NAU email. And for more information about the tuition payment plan, for more details, you can follow the link here provided to our website. All right, and we've got to the end of that presentation there. Thank you for hanging out with me and learning more about your student account. We've gone over a lot of information today, and I know it can feel intimidating when you're just starting out, but by taking the steps to plan ahead and becoming familiar with the account and using your resources, you can develop a good financial plan to have a successful start to the semester. And we are here to help you. Your success is really important to us, so please don't hesitate to reach out to our offices with any questions that you have. And if you have any questions now, I think we can kind of go over some of those as well. See if
That
we
was
have that
awesome,
here.
Kelly. Thank you so much. We do have 3 questions in the chat that we would love for you to answer.
Yay.
If you're able to pull those up on your end, that's great. Feel free to read those and then answer out loud. Otherwise, I can read you those questions if you need.
Oh, that's a good question. So one of the questions is, what if I add a class after the first week of school? Will there be a due date for the new charge? That is a very good question. So the account is very dynamic. And if you add a class after the initial due date of August 19th, it's going to essentially make that tuition due the same day. So just be aware of that when you're adding those classes after, like even if you get waitlisted into a class after the start of the semester, you could have new tuition charges added to the account. Now, we can also check your tuition rate. If you're already at 12 units or so, it might not make a difference because there is a cap at a certain point, but double check your account. Just know if you're making any of those changes after the start of the term, always check your account. And we will send you that email saying, hey, new charges have been added too. Is bank account direct deposit or online payment accepted? Yeah, I think we mentioned that, and my screen is having, what is it doing? But yes, we do. There's two separate. There's a question that asks if there's a direct deposit and a bank account accepted. So direct deposit is in the financial account tile, and that's where you would receive a refund. And then there's a separate account information that you would enter into the payment portal to indicate a bank account you'd like for us to withdraw money from for a payment. So they're two separate areas, but yeah, we can do that all electronically. Just make sure you have the right information because some banking institutions have different set of numbers for different type of transactions, like direct deposit or payments. And I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. My screen is doing something weird. Hold on.
It may be these
I've got a
little
storm going on
storms. I
overhead,
was
so I don't
gonna
know if
say,
that's
it might be the storm.
If there's another question, if you can please read that off to me because I'm not seeing that on my screen at the moment.
Of course, not a big deal at all.
Thank you.
Of course, so there's a question. It says, what about 529 releases? Does our 529 custodian need to be an authorized payer?
That's a personal decision for the student. So keep in mind, by granting that authorized payer, you are giving that person a little more autonomy with being able to log in at any time. They can make their own payments through their view and pay bills. It depends on the individual 529. If they need any kind of records, you as the student can request a statement that we can send to you that you can share with that 529 authorized person, a custodian, excuse me. So you don't necessarily have to grant them an authorized payer access. You are the ultimate holder of the access to your account. But on their 529, we can also kind of talk with you more about what that request is coming from their 529. But many times it's either a paper check in the mail and they just need the address and your 7-digit ID number to send that over to us. That way we can link it to your account. If they need wire transfer information, we can do it that way too. But Flywire is probably one of the better ways to do it electronically. It's super fast, and we can also track that coming in if there's ever any concern about where it is in the process of getting to us. So you can talk with your 529 custodian and see what their 529 is asking of them, and we can definitely talk with you more about those different details and how we can help.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kelly. My next question, there's a few in here. The next one is, do
Good questions.
scholarships just cover tuition fee?
And that's my question there. No, not necessarily. Definitely the scholarship, the high school merit scholarships that are awarded at the point of admissions, those are for tuition purposes only. But if a student receives an external private donor scholarship, it all depends on how the donor wants the funds applied. Some scholarships are completely open to cover just educational expenses that are on a student's account, and some are more restrictive based, but that is totally based on the donor.
Wonderful. My next question is, how are subsidized and unsubsidized loan payments made?
I think I need some clarifying. Made to the account?
I would believe so.
Yeah, okay.
If I had to
So,
infer from the question, I would
mhm,
maybe ask, how would you start to pay maybe off that loan or make a payment towards that loan,
the
maybe?
loan, okay. So the wonderfulness of these student loans, if a student, as long as the student remains enrolled and at least have time enrollment throughout for subsequent semesters, the loan is deferred. So payments for the loans are deferred until the student graduates. Usually within 6 months after the student graduates is the um, grace period for the loan, and then the student or the loan holder will start making payments at that point. But initially, no loans. As the student is in school, there are no payments that need to be made to those loans. They're deferred until the student graduates. I hope
Thank
that answered
you.
the question.
I think that was
Okay.
helpful. The
Okay.
next question I have is, are the fees, aka transportation, green,
Mhm.
etc., are they per semester or per academic year?
Oh, these are great questions. Yeah, that is per
Mhm.
semester, per semester.
Wonderful. Next question I have for you is, when would we receive an email if our NAU scholarship award had changed?
Once the change occurs, the system is automated and will send an adjustment notification, an award adjustment notification to the student's NAU email. So typically within 24 to 48 hours, an email will shoot out to the students.
Wonderful. I have another question for you. Sorry, I'm rapid firing them, I guess.
No worries. Yeah,
This is
this is
great.
good. Yeah.
Perfect. Disregarding the food plan, like meal plans and housing, what charges does the lumberjack scholarship not cover?
So the Lumberjack Scholarship is one of those merit scholarships that Myrna was talking about, which covers just the tuition line specifically. So all other mandatory fees, such as that green fee that was mentioned before, the health and wellness fee, the student student activity fee, all those other items are not included with the Lumberjack with that. And if you were to email our office too, we can give you a screenshot, like highlight the different items too, if you're ever not sure which ones to select in the payment portal if you're looking to make those payments.
Awesome. A few more questions for you. One being, if we have our own health insurance, do we still need to pay the health and wellness fee?
Yeah, that can be a
Mhm.
point of confusion. The health and wellness fee is not actually insurance. It's access to things like the campus health service facilities, the gym, the pool, all those different facilities that come along with it. And that's virtual and in-person services that they offer through there. It allows you to gain access to them, but it is separate than actually like health insurance, which they do offer if you need it. If not, it is still a part of a mandatory fees that goes to support those services that students can take advantage of.
Awesome. I have three more questions so far for you. So one is, and it's a little bit of a longer question,
Mhm.
so just let me know if you need me to repeat anything. It is, I need to sign the Parent Plus loan, and I was approved for in order to take care of all of these charges. If I do that prior to the Lumberjack scholarship being dispersed to my son's account, will the loan funds be applied to his tuition?
Ah, so the Lumberjack Scholarship has that priority to pay tuition, which means it'll muscle out a lot of other different types of payments. So if you accidentally put a personal payment on there, if a federal loan happens to touch that line item first, the Lumberjack Scholarship is going to come in and push that off of the tuition account, or excuse me, the tuition item. So the Parent Plus wouldn't be able to pay tuition directly if that Lumberjack is on there. It's going to push it out, but it will likely apply towards the mandatory tuition related fees like that green fee, that the student wellness fee, health and wellness fee, all of those different other mandatory university fees. There's also a separate authorization a parent can do when signing up for the Plus loan if they would like it to try and pay for things like the transportation fee. But just know If not, then there still could be that mandatory transportation fee outstanding if a refund is sent out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I have three more questions. So first one, you indicated that we need to get our 529 money started with enough time to allow it to be applied, but the scholarship award doesn't show up until a couple of days before the semester. Is that where the refund comes into play? So a little confusion between that 529 and scholarships and things along those lines.
Gotcha. So the invoices that are going to go out this weekend, they should have the amount of the charges that are out there for the semester and any authorized anticipated aid at this point. So I would really recommend taking a look at that total number for the semester that you're seeing and any anticipated aid and what is that number left over. If it's 2,000, then send that 529 for the 2,000. If it's going to be more than that, either way, it's helpful to get it on the account before aid is dispersing so that it can move around to where it needs to go once aid is applying, and cover things left over. So for example, the 529 payment doesn't have a restriction to pay the transportation fee. So if the payment is on the account and aid disperses like the lumberjack, it will push that money out to pay things like the transportation fee, which is last on that priority list that we saw earlier. So it can help move money in the right place for you. Waiting till Monday the 19th to request your funds from the 529 is too late. It's going to take too long for you to wait to see that money from the scholarship applying to the account. It's going to be too far late if it's going to take even in 2 weeks more on top of that to get the funds to the account. So now is the time to really take a look at those numbers and start getting those requests in. If there happens to be, something like, you make the payment on there and then something comes in later, like you're still getting a private donor scholarship lined up and sent in and everything. If that money comes in later and it pushes out the 529 funds, those will be sent out as a refund because we won't hold on to extra money on the account. We'll send those back out to the student.
That was so helpful. Thank you. Two more questions so far. First one being, how does federal work study work with financial aid, or just
Okay.
maybe explaining federal work study a
Yes.
little?
Okay. So federal work study is a federal award, and it's offered on a student's account. So you should see it as an item federal work study offered, if a student has been offered federal work study. So what happens though, a student, it's not an award per se, it's in the sense that it will disperse and pay any charges on the student's account. Basically, it's a placeholder in a sense. So with federal work study, it's money for a job on campus. Typically a job on campus. We do have some federal work study entities that are off campus, but majority of our employers are on campus. So basically it's a job. So students apply for a job, they interview. There's the handshake portal that we direct students to through our career development office. That's where students would apply for jobs. And then a student gets paid every 2 weeks. And typically those monies are direct deposited into the student's account to help assess any miscellaneous charges or personal expenses that the student might have. But it's basically an award that allows the student to get a job on campus using federal work study funds. And basically the monies are coming to pay for that student majority of those funds are coming from the federal government. So departments love to employ federal work study students because typically the government is taking care of majority of that student's hourly pay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was super helpful. There was a question in the chat that I was able to answer, but
Okay,
maybe
wonderful.
we could elaborate a little bit.
Okay.
It asks about the NAU scholarship requirements. So the question seemed to be a little bit confused on if the requirements were for high school or the first year in college. So if we could talk a little bit about those merit-based scholarship
Okay, so
requirements, maybe.
the merit-based scholarships, and the information is on our website for eligibility for those high school merit. So it's based on historically, what you did in high school. So then to keep those are awarded at the point of admissions. So on information that the student and family provides when they're applying, when they're submitting their admissions application. And typically within 2 weeks of the student submitting their admissions, if they qualify based on the eligibility required for each individual scholarship type, then they will see an award out there for that high school merit scholarship. Now, to keep the scholarship, to have that renewed, that information is also on our website. So typically those high school merit scholarships can be utilized for the full 4 years that the student is on campus. And it's the academic year award. So it's fall, spring, fall, spring. So it's 8 semesters of eligibility that the student can have. So they can keep that scholarship as long as they meet the renewal criteria at the end of every academic year. And those renewal criteria for each of those scholarships are on our website.
Wonderful. It looks like those are all of our questions for
Okay.
the evening. So I appreciate both of you being here and presenting. So helpful. I'm so glad we were able to answer so many incoming students and families and support systems questions. So we really appreciate both of you. And thank you to our participants for joining us today. This will go up on our YouTube. So you can always circle back to this if you didn't quite, if you're up late at night and you're like, what did she say at that point? You can always go back and double check this. So thank you all so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you
Go
guys.
Jets.
Thank you.
Yeah.